Hello, guys. Good evening. I hope everyone is doing good today. So, today we are continuing on our Python interview series, and I would like to thank you all for the amazing response we have got till this point. So, keep supporting, and I hope we all learn and contribute to our knowledge, to ourselves, to our friends, and then I wish you all good luck to ace your interviews as well. So before we jump to the video, who are we? We are Data Valley, the fastest growing edtech company of 2025. And if you're wondering what support and what kind of assistance we could provide to you, we provide you IT solutions, trainings, and placement support. So if you have a company and you need a talent pool of people, yes, we have got you covered. We have got a multiple people who are talented in multiple streams of subjects. And if you need trainings, yes, we do provide you in trainings as well. So we have both virtual and in live class trainings as well. And if you are wondering about the subject, yes, we do provide in multiple subjects such as data analytics, data science, data engineering, ethical hacking, MERN stack development, web development, UI UX designing. So we have plenty of courses. Please do check out our website at datavalley.ai so that you would get a big picture of the help we can provide to you. And talking about the placement, yes, we do support you with your placements as well. So you might have finished your graduation this year or from the last year. So whatever the pass outs you are in, do check out with our colleagues and they'll be able to guide you on how they can fast track your career. And myself, Franklin, I've got 3+ years of experience as a data engineer, and I'm glad to bring this video to you. Okay. So earlier on, we have been covering our string methods, right? So we have already covered 3 videos in relevance to strings. So we learned about strings and we learned a few methods within the string as well, right? So we learned methods like upper, lower, strip method, split method, find method. So these were the methods we discussed earlier. And in this video, we are covering up next 5 methods in the string. So these are important as well. So you all know the routine, right? So grab a cup of coffee, come sit here, stay chilled for an hour, pay your utmost focus and try to learn as much as possible. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop your questions in the comment section. I'll be more than glad to answer you the questions. And if it is not possible for me to answer it in this session, at least if you drop it in the comment section, our team will be able to reply to you in your comments as well. So let's jump to the video now. The first question is, can you explain starts with method? So what is a starts with method? So starts with method is a built-in string method in our Python. So this method is used to determine if a string begins with a specified prefix or a substring. So what do I mean by a prefix? For example, let's say prefix is the beginning part, okay? So for example, I have a prefix in, okay? So what could be the example? Feel free to drop your answers in the comment section. For example, intermediate, international, inter. These are few words that starts with in, right? Even India, right? India. So these are having a prefix called in. So what you're going to do is you're going to find if a particular string within a string, okay, is beginning with a particular prefix or a substring. You can call it either way. And what it returns is it returns a true if the string starts with a particular prefix, and if it doesn't start with a particular prefix, it returns a boolean at the end of the day. Let's talk about the syntax. The syntax goes like string. So what is the string here? So string here signifies that in what string are you trying to look for a particular prefix. So you all know that string is immutable, right? So you cannot modify an existing string. So what you do is you call this particular string into another variable, right? So you give a variable, you call it equal to, and then you call in the previous string, and then to that string you call in the method using the dot notation. So dot notation starts with, I want you to pay attention to the spelling here. It's not start with, it is starts with. So dot starts with, and then it takes in 3 parameters. The 3 parameters are prefix, start, and end. So let's see in detail about our parameter. So what is this prefix parameter? So I've already said you, right? You can either call it a prefix or a substring parameter. And this parameter is a required parameter, or you can say in other words, it's a mandatory parameter. So what do I mean by a required parameter? So whenever you use the starts with method, make sure that you specify the prefix parameter. So, let's not try to memorize it, but think logically. Yesterday, in our find method, we learned that, okay, we need to specify a substring, okay, as a mandatory parameter. And why is that? So you have a string and you want to find a particular substring in a string. So what are you going to find? So if you are specifying a find method, I'm sorry. So you have your particular string and you want to find something. So what do? You specify what you need to find, right? So if not, there is no need for you to use the find method. Similarly, now in here, you're using a starts with method. And okay, what are you going to find? What are you going to check with? So you need a prefix to which your Python code can check against. So this starts with parameter will take in this prefix and it will compare to this string here and then give us the result out. Okay. Not only you can provide this parameter as a substring, but you can also provide this as a tuple of substring. So it is not just one substring that you can provide, but you can also provide multiple substrings in a tuple format. And then after the prefix, it takes two parameters called the start and the end parameter. The start and your end parameter are optional parameter. And this start parameter takes an integer type value. And why does it take only the integer type value? Let's say you want to give a location for your Python code. So your your characters or your elements within a string, they get an index position, right? So the index positions are always a whole number or a complete number. So it goes like it starts from 0, so it goes up to whatever the number that you have. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's how your index position progress. So let's say you want to find a particular prefix from a certain position. So you give that position in a complete number. So you indicate it using an integer type. You cannot specify an index position using a float number, right? Or float, in other words, is decimal. So you cannot say that element t is at a position 2.5. What is 2.5? No, it doesn't carry any value to it. So make sure that when you specify the start parameter, it is mentioned in an integer type and not in any other type, inclusive of float, or any alphabetical characters, because those doesn't carry any value and you will not be able to use the starts with method. What would happen if you don't specify the value? So what happens is that by default the value is given as 0, and this being optional, you can mention it or you can be without mentioning it. So it doesn't matter. If you don't specify, what happens is your lookup starts from the beginning of your string. So that is one key thing here. And next you have your end parameter. And this end parameter is again an optional parameter. And this end parameter must be again given an integer data type. So you cannot provide any kind of float, string, a variable, or a character or symbol, whatever it is. So you specify the index position using an integer data type. And what happens when you provide the end parameter is that your search starts from either 0 or whatever the starting range that you have provided, and it continues till the end parameter. So it is going to stop once it has reached the particular index. And what would happen if you don't provide the end parameter value? So what happens is that it will start looking for a particular substring or a prefix till the end of your string, or in other words, till the length of your string is covered up. What are its return value? So we have already covered it in brief, but let's see it in detail now. So the return value is of a Boolean data type. So what are Booleans? You get either true or a false. So you don't have, or you don't carry any other value for your Boolean data type, right? So what does a Boolean type of true denote? If the value true is written, it means that the particular string is having the substring that you're looking for or the prefix that you're looking for. And what is false then? So false would be written when a particular substring or a prefix is not found within a So this is how your return value is denoted using true and false. Let's see how this works in our code implementation. So I've got a text here, and the text is hello comma world exclamation mark. All right. And now what I want to do is I want to check if the string starts with the word hello. Does it actually start with the word hello? So I've got hello world. Does it start with hello? Yes, it starts. So let's see about the syntax. So here I have my string, and now I'm calling it into a new variable called result1. So result1 is equal to text. So what is this text from? This text is from this string here. Because we cannot modify an existing string, we are calling the existing string here, so that when you create a new string you will be getting a different value, right? So you will be creating a new string with all the changes already in place. So you're calling a text here, dot notation, and starts with method. So make sure you pay attention to the spelling here. So it is starts with, so you have yes as well, and then you specify what is the prefix or your substring here. And now if I specify and ask if the hello is present, does it have? Yes, it has, and therefore it has to return me the value true. Yes, that is right. Your word hello is present and you've got the boolean value true. Now let's check if the string is starting with hi. But does our string actually start with hi? No, isn't it? It starts with hello and ends with world. So we just have hello world. And now I'm trying to look up for hi, which is not part of our hello world. And does it throw out error or does it return a boolean? If you answered the boolean false, yes, you are right. You'll be getting a boolean false. And why is that? Because the word hi is not present in our which says hello world. And now let's play with a tuple of prefixes. So I've already said you that not just a single substring, you can provide multiple prefix or a substring to enable your lookup. So what I'm going to do here is, again, I'm calling the text dot starts with, and then I've got hi comma hello. So I want to see if a particular prefix, either hi or hello, is present in my string called as text, which just has hello world. So the string carries hello world. I've got a list of tuples saying hi and hello. And how do I know this is a tuple? I know this is a tuple because this is denoted using a round bracket. If you notice here, the first bracket is a part of your method call. So starts with method call has a open and a closed round bracket. So inside that we are carrying a tuple, which is denoted using a round open and close bracket. So now when I call this, it has returned me true. And why is that? It has returned me true because, so when you provide a list of, I mean, a tuple of strings, what happens is that it just looks that if the string either has hello or hi. So any one value is fine. So if it has hi, okay, it does not have it. Then let me go and find hello. So does it have hello? Yes, there is a word hello, and therefore it has returned true. So just because you have got a tuple of string, it doesn't mean that you need to find both the prefixes in your string. As long as one value is found in your string, you are going to return it with a true. And now let's try to run our starts with method with a specific. So what I'm doing, again, I'm calling my text, which is hello world, and then I'm using the starts with method call. And in here I've got three parameters, as you can see. And why is that? Because starts with method can take up to three parameters. So first is your substring or your prefix. This is your start parameter, and this is your end parameter. So you all know about the substring or your prefix method. I mean prefix parameter. Now let's talk about our start and our end parameter. We all know that both these start and end parameter are optional, and it must be mentioned in an integer format, not in any other float or any string format. And now what happens is that, so I'm specifying the range 7. So I have hello at position 0, right? So now when I specify 7, so it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So your hello comma space ends at 6 and your world starts at 7. So 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. And your exclamation mark is your end. So now when I specify this range, I can try to check if the word world is present. Does it have the word world? Yes, it has the word world. Now let's try to play around as well. So what I'm going to do is, yes, I want to find between the range 7 to 12, but instead of world I want you to find hello. Okay, but what could be the actual behavior if I'm just trying to find, by default? So you all have seen this, right? So the default behavior in here is, okay, in here I've got hello and I haven't specified any range. It has just gone through the full string and has said me yes, it is present and therefore it is true. And now in here I'm specifying hello and not world, and the ranges are 7 to 10, 7 to 12, and the range 7 to 12 is from world exclamation mark. And now when I try to run this, it says that the word hello that I'm looking for, okay, I'll change the print statement. The word hello that I'm looking for is not present within the range 7 to 12, because the word hello is present within the range 0 to, okay. And what about the case sensitiveness? Does it support case sensitiveness? Let's check it out as well. So case sensitiveness, in here what I'll do is I'll just change a letter. So we have hello world, capital H comma world, and now I want to look for the word hello, okay, small letter H and then everything lowercase. But we don't have this word, or do we have it? And the answer is going to be false. You know the reason? The reason is simple, because I'm looking for small lowercase hello, but what is present is capital H. So capital H hello is there. So though they are the same words and they pronounce and they sound the same, the difference here is the case sensitiveness. Here it is lowercase and here it is uppercase. So though the word is present, as the case is different, or you can call it as a case mismatch, the output is going to be false anyways. And now let's talk about the ends with method. Ends with method is bit opposite to your starts with method. How are they different? So in the prefix method, you start your search from the start of your string. You look for the characters. So you look for characters at the start of a string, right? So that is your prefix. And in suffix what happens is that, and in your suffix what happens is that you try to look for characters at the end, okay, at the end of a string. So that is the difference between your starts with and your ends with method. And the example could be, let's say I'm trying to look for a prefix in. So you have intermediate, international, inter, India, inflation, inaudible. So these are few words you have with starting with in, right, or prefix you can call it. So these meet the condition of prefix. And what happens with your suffix is that it looks for the characters at the end of your string, okay, and you call that as suffix. So prefix is the first fix and suffix is your end fix, okay. And for example, if I mention ing, the example could be coding, typing, learning, viewing, programming, inflating. You have a lot of words that could end with ing. So the point here is it has the suffix ing, okay. Now let's run through this ends with method in detail. This ends with method is a built-in string method, and this is used to determine if a string ends with a specified, as similar to our starts with method. It also returns a boolean value. Let's talk about the syntax now. The syntax is as similar to your starts with, but quite different to your method call. So in here you're using the same string method. So you call in which string would you like to have the modifications. So you have to be sure that there is no in place modification happening. It is just that the string is called, the change is created, and a new string is created with the changes that has taken place. So here I'm calling the string in which I want to change, and it is a dot notation, and then I am using the ends with method call. And I just want you to pay attention to the spelling as well. So ENDS with, so ends with, okay. So I'm using S here, ends with, and after that I've got three parameters here. So as similar to your ends with, I've got three parameters, but the difference here is suffix, start, and end. But in your starts with, you had prefix, start, and end. And suffix, you can call it again, a substring as well. It doesn't matter. The suffix parameter is a required parameter. Okay. This is mandatory, and make sure that whenever you call in your endswith method, you mention the suffix parameter, okay, or a particular substring. As I said, think logically. When you're trying to look up for something, you need something to compare against. So you are going to specify what substring or what suffix you're looking for, and therefore this is a required parameter. And as we have seen in our prefix parameter, suffix can be either a single string or it can be a tuple of string. Okay, so it is not necessarily that okay you can only find only one prefix. You can also mention multiple suffixes as a tuple format. If the tuple is provided, the method returns true if the string ends with any of the suffixes in the tuple. So when you provide a tuple of suffixes, right, so it is more than one suffix, as long as okay any one of your suffix is in the string that you're looking for, you'll be returned with a true value. So not necessarily that both the suffixes must be present in your original string. Even if you have one string, it matches, okay, then you will be returned with a true value because the particular suffix is present. And now I've got start and end parameter. As similar to our starts with method, both of these start and your end parameter are optional parameters. And the starts with and ends with parameter will take in an integer type. And why again? I'll just give it shortly now because I have previously explained it. It takes in an integer data type because an index position is always mentioned using an index number, an integer number, not of float or a decimal type. What happens when you use the start range? So whenever you specify the start range, your lookup will start from that particular index position. So if you specify index position 7, your lookup is going to start from 7 and it is going to skip or ignore any string that is present prior to your particular string value. All right. And what is the default behavior if I don't specify any of the start parameter? What happens is that it just starts from the beginning of your string. So it doesn't matter where it looks for, and as long as you have your start position, it just looks for it and it will try to just start your search from. Okay, so uh, now let's see about the end parameter. And the end parameter again takes an integer data type. And what happens with your end parameter? It just stops your lookup. So as similar to your start where it starts, your end parameter is going to denote that stop your lookup in that particular position. And what would happen if you don't specify your end parameter? So it is optional, first of all. And secondly, when you don't specify it, as like your start parameter, when you don't specify your start parameter, it just starts from the beginning of your. So similarly, your end parameter, when it is not specified, the default behavior is it will continue to look until the end of a string. So your start could be any range, and from that particular position, either 0 or whatever the start range, from there it travels to the end of your string. And here is one key thing I want you to pay attention to. If the end position, okay, is mentioned, and let's say the end index is specified as 6, so what happens is that your search is going to continue for the characters at the index position 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and it is going to exclude number 7. And why is that? If you are already aware about the range parameter or range method in the Python, you'd be knowing that whatever the end position that you specify, it is always going to be n minus 1 or end minus 1. What do I mean by n minus 1? So when you specify index position 7, the value at 7 is not counted. It is an exclusive. Okay? It is not inclusive. So the value at the index position number 7 is ignored or not taken into consideration. It just stops at index position 6. So an easier way to remember this, you can just say it as n minus 1 or end minus 1. That is how the things work in Python. And now, what does it return? What is the return value? It returns a Boolean output. And it will return true if the string ends with a specified suffix. So if you have a particular substring or a suffix in your string, then you will be returned with the value. And what in case if a particular substring or a suffix is not found? It is straightforward, you will be returned with a false value. And now let's try to play around with how it works. So I've got in here a text hello world, And now what I want to do is I want to find if the strings ends with the world. So I have got in here world, right? Hello world. And now I want to check if the strings are ending with the word world. And when I run this, yes, it is obvious because you have seen it already, hello world. And now you know, yes, it is ending with the word. And now let's see if the strings end with the word world, okay? But in here, the difference is I'm going to show you the case sensitiveness. So here I've got hello world, but again, and now what I'm trying to look here is I've got an capital W here, not small case. All right. So it is a hello with a small cased world. And what I'm trying to look for, world. I'm trying to look for world with capital W. And what would it return? It would return false because the case sensitiveness. So world is not equal to, okay, this is a key point to be you need to keep in mind. Okay, all right. And now let's try to run our search or a lookup with the tuple of suffixes. So I want you to pay attention to the parameters here, okay? So I've got the word hello world, which is fine. I'm calling it in my text, and then I'm calling my endswith method call as well. And within the endswith, I've got an tuple of suffixes or a tuple of substrings. So I'm either looking for world or a planet. All right. So now when I try to run this, it returns me true. Why is that? Because I've got world here. At least the word world has been returned. But I do not have planet. But it doesn't matter because I've already got a true value. Because I'm just looking if at least one of these substrings are present as a suffix in the particular string. What would happen if I remove the exclamation mark here? Let's try to check it out. I'll try to remove the exclamation mark here. So would it return the same or a different one? So what I'm trying to look for now here is for here. So now when I run this, what would happen? Would it return true or a false? It would return false. And why is that? Because I want the particular suffix, right? So it is ending with WO or LD and an exclamation mark. But you might be wondering, okay, this is a case and this is case. Why does it include the symbol? But you have to take into consideration that this is again part of your particular substring, right? It is coming continually. If not, it would have made sense. For example, if I have created a space there and I'm looking for it, that is not ending with that. So therefore, I'm getting that error. But this is part of it, and therefore, I'm not getting that particular answer to be true. And now let me try to check it with a couple of suffixes, the mismatching suffix. So I've got here hello Frank, and now I want to look for world exclamation mark or a plan. Would it return a value or would it throw out an error? Sorry about it. It is not going to definitely return an error. It's just going to show me that okay, it is not present, therefore it is false. Now let's try to look for a specific slice of a string. So I've got hello world, and now I'm looking for the word LLO as my substring. So hello in this is here is my suffix. And what is the range I'm looking for? I want to find it between the range 0 to 5. What do I mean by 0 to 5? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So until this hello comma, I want to find if the word suffix LLO is present in my string. Is it is present? Yes, it is present. Therefore, I've got the value. And now let's try to find for the word world here from the index 7 to 10. Now when I run this, it returns me true again. So that particular word world is present. All right. And now to our next method, the count method. So what is a count method? So count method is just going to help you to find okay a non-overlapping occurrences of a specific substring within a string. What do I mean by that? So in simple terms, you are going to count if a particular substring is find sorry. So what you're going to find is that okay, you have a substring, and now you're looking that okay, how many times has this particular substring been repetitive in my original string? So you have a string, and to that string you are running this search and counting okay, how many substrings are being repetitive again and again. And you have to make sure that it just determines the count based on the number of non-overlapping occurrences. All right. Now the syntax. The syntax goes like string dot count And in the count method, it takes in three parameters. So the three parameters are sub, or you can call it substring, the start parameter, and then the end parameter. So you all know about the substring parameter. So as I've said already, you're trying to find something, you're trying to count something, and in that case, yes, you need to mention what you're looking for. So logically speaking, yes, you have to mention what you're looking for, and therefore the substring is a mandatory parameter. And then you have got the start and your end parameter. The start and your end parameter takes in an integer data type, and these are optional parameters. So not necessarily that you have to always mention it, and though you don't mention it, it doesn't matter. Does the search. And what would be the behavior if I don't mention? By default, the search starts from the position 0, and your end ends till the end of the string. So that is the default behavior. Let's talk about the return value now. The return value is of a boolean type. Okay, so the return value for your count and is not of a boolean type, it is of an integer type. Why is that? Let's speak logically. So if I'm asking you how many eggs are present in the basket, would you say yeah, true, or would you say false, or would you say b, or would you say something like z? No, isn't it? When I ask you how many eggs are present in the basket, you're going to give me a number. You're going to tell 6, you're going to tell me 12, you're going to tell me 18, whatever it is, right? So you are going to represent the count in an integer data type or as a number. So in a count method, the output is, or your return value is always an integer data type, which denotes the number count of a particular non-overlapping occurrence of a substring. Now let's talk about the key characteristics of your count method. First things first, it is case sensitive. So what do I mean by case sensitive? So let's say you have some uppercase and your lowercase format for a particular word, and let that word be ABC. Okay, so you have ABC capital, all capital, and then you have ABC all small letter. They might sound the same, or they might make the same meaning. In case sensitiveness, one is all uppercase and one is all lowercase. Therefore, in case sensitiveness consideration, the count will not be taken into consideration. Only as long as the case matches, then it will be taken into the count. And what do I mean by non-overlapping? You get to count only the non-overlapping occurrences of the substring. That is what we see. That is what we saw in our count method, right? It determines the number of non-overlapping occurrences of a specified substring within a string. So if the substring overlaps with itself, only the first occurrence in the overlap is counted. So if a particular substring, okay, let's say a particular element or a sequence of characters, if it is overlapping with itself again, it wouldn't count everything. It only will count the first occurrence in the overlap. And then what would be the key characteristic for an empty substring? An empty substring doesn't make any sense, right? Talking in the count method, if you provide, okay, instead of a particular substring that has certain characters, if you provide a substring as an empty string, so your count method will return the length of the string plus 1. So what is the length of the string? So for example, you might have, let's say, a 5. Okay, your length of your string is the 5. So you will be returned with 5 plus 1. Okay, that will be your output. This is because the empty string can be considered to appear at each position between characters and at the beginning and end of the string. So you have a character, okay? So in the character, or in between the character and at the beginning and the end of your string, you might always end up with some empty space, right? So those would be taken into consideration, and your Python is going to consider that as an empty string, and therefore your count is always going to be length of string plus 1. Let's see this in our code implement. I've gotten here a string called as Python is fun, Python is easy to learn, I love Python. So I've got Python repeated thrice. Now what I'm going to do is I want to count occurrences of Python in the entire string. Okay, I want to find the occurrences of Python in the entire string. So what I'm doing, I'm just using the syntax dot count method. So you all know how the syntax is, right? So you call in a variable, a new variable, and in that variable you're calling to which text you're trying to look for or count your substring. So text dot notation count method, and within the count method you are mentioning your mandatory parameter, that is your substring. So herein I have provided Python as my substring. So by counting, actual counting, you know that you have three Python here, right? So Python, Python, and Python. Now when I count it, you can see that, oh, the reason is because I didn't run this. And now, okay, now you can see that the occurrences of Python is, so that is how your count method helps you. Okay, let's play around. So now I want to find the occurrences of O in a specific range. So my range is 10 to 13. Okay, 10 to 30. So I think it'll be somewhere around, maybe from here to, I'm not sure, maybe here to here. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to find if what is the count for the character O in the specific range. And when I call that in the substring, and I'm also mentioning the range as well, the start and the end range. So start is my first parameter and my end is the second parameter, 10 comma 30. And now when I call it, it says there is only one. How is that? Roughly, let's assume that 10 starts from here, 30 ends somewhere like here. So I've got 20, and in that you can see that you've got only O here. Python is easy. So this is the only one that is taken into consideration. Let's check with our case sensitiveness as well. So what I'm going to do here, I've got the same Python here, right? All starting with the capital letter. So three Python starting with capital letter. And now in the count method, what I'm doing is I'm using all lowercase Python. So when I try to search this, it is going to return me 0. Why is that? Because I'm looking for lowercase Python, but what is present, everything is uppercase. And now let's dive to our next question. What is alpha method, or what is the use of is alpha method? This is a bit interesting. I love this. So is alpha method is a built-in string method that is used to determine if all the characters within a given string are alphabetic. So you are going to run a comparison or a check, and you're going to find all the strings, okay, all the characters in a string or alphabetic. So what do I mean by alphabetic? So we have alphabets, right? A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P Q R S T U V W X Y Z. So these are the 26 characters of my alphabet. And if I have a string only from these 26 characters, then I can say that yes, everything is alphabetic. So is alpha method is simply to determine if the given string has only alphabetics. Let's talk about the return value. The isAlpha method returns a Boolean value. Where did we earlier see where the Boolean value is returned? So we saw that earlier in our starts with and ends with, right? So you are returned with a Boolean value. And now similarly, for your isAlpha method, now you will be returned with a Boolean value. And what are the cases you will be getting true, and what are the cases you'll be getting false? You will be getting true if all the characters in the string are letters from English alphabet. So if I have a particular string and all the string elements are of letters, okay, or in other words, or alphabet, then I would be returned with a true Boolean value. And talking about the alphabet, it can be either capital letter or all lowercase. It doesn't matter. Okay. So case sensitiveness doesn't matter in your alpha method. The reason being, even if it is capital A to Z or small lowercase a to Z, at the end of the day, both are of an character, right? They are of an alphabet. So it doesn't matter or doesn't make a big. And as long as they are of a letter category, you are going to be returned with a true value. And now let's talk about the false parameter. Sorry, the false Boolean value. So, or what are the chances that you will be returned with a false value? If your particular string, okay, it is not having an alphabetic character, okay, in that case, you will be returned with a false. I want to, little bit, I want to get a bit deeper in this. So let's say you have a string. You have a string called as Python, and within the Python string, is everything alphabet? Please feel free to write it in the comments. So is Python is all alphabetic? So you got P, Y, H, O, N. So all are case letters. So all are alphabetical letters. In that case, yes, it is all alphabetic. But what if I include a digit in there? What if I include a symbol in there? What if I include, any kind of an Unicode character? In that case, you are going to be written with the false. And the reason being, because the main purpose of using isalpha method is to verify that all the characters or elements within a string or alphabetic. So if you are including any numeric value, you are failing that use case, right? Therefore, you'll be written with the false boolean. So as I mentioned here, if the string contains one or more non-alphabetical characters, so anything apart from A to Z, okay, and it would include number, spaces, punctuation mark, or any symbol. So in that case, you'll be written with a false. The syntax is string dot is alpha open and close bracket. So the string specifies on what string you're trying to perform is alpha method. Talking about the parameters, yes, it doesn't take any parameter. So it is just quite straightforward. No parameters are taken. Now let's run through our code example. So I've got in here a string containing only alphabetical characters. So when I run this isalpha method, so isalpha and my function. So when I run this, what would I get? The answer is, why is that? Because everything in this particular string is of a character from A to Z. Therefore, it would return me a true. And now let's run my second one, string containing numbers. So I've got hello and then I've got 1, 2, 3. So my question to is, does my string have only alphabets or does it have any non-alphabetical characters as well? So if you notice, I've got 1, 2, 3, which is non-alphabetic or of a numeric type. In that case, when I run this, it is going to return me false. So what would be the case for a string that has a space? So I've got hello world again, but if you notice here, I've got a space here, a single space. In that case, I'll be returned with the false value again. Why is that? Because space, symbol, any kind of unicodes, numerics, those are counted as a non-case characters, and therefore when you are trying to verify if all my string has is only alphabetics, then it gives you a false statement. Let's test it with empty string. So I've got an string 4 that is of an empty type, empty string. And now when I run this, so I want you to answer this logic. So if you're trying to run an empty string and you're going to find if everything is alphabetic, it's obvious, isn't it? So there is nothing to check again. So it is just plain and empty. So your output value is going to be false value. And then next you have got string 5 is equal to Python. So in here, I've got capital P, Y, T, H, O, N, and an exclamation mark. So if you have paid attention, you would be, pretty much sure about this. When I try to verify it with isalpha method, it's going to give me false again. The reason being, I'm having an exclamation mark. So the key point here is, as long as my string has only alphabetics, then I'll be returned with a true value. In any other case, I'll be given an false value. All right. Now to our isdigit method of our Python. So the isdigit method is a built-in string method used to determine if all characters within a string are digits. So what did we cover in our isalpha? It verifies if all the characters within a string are alphabetic. Similarly, your isdigit method is going to check if all the characters within a string are digits. So any numeric value only. The syntax is string dot isdigit open and close bracket. So string is where you want to check against. So the string that particularly you are looking for, and your isdigit is going to be the function call. And talking about the parameter, your isdigit method doesn't take any parameter, so it's just pretty straightforward. You just have to use isdigit method. Let's talk about the key characteristics. Sorry about it. Okay, the key characteristics, it returns a boolean value. So if the particular string has any digits in it, then it is true. Not any digits, so all the characters within a particular string must be of a digit. In that case, yes, you'll be getting a true boolean value. And if any one, at least one, okay, at least one character in your string becomes a case letter or a symbol, in that case it would return a false. Okay, As long as all your characters within a string are of a numeric type, you'll be getting true. And anything except to your numeric value, it can be a space, it can be an exclamation mark, it can be a symbol, it can be a small letter, uppercase letter, it doesn't matter. Any case letter, you will be returned with an false value. So you are meant to have only numerics. Digit recognition. This method recognizes standard decimal digits, so anything between 0 to 9, as well as certain Unicode characters that are classified as digits. So, talking about Unicode characters, so you have superscript, right? You all would be aware about it. For example, you know subscript and superscript. So, for superscript, you write the number at the top, and for your subscript, you write the number at the bottom of a number. So, for example, in chemistry, you would have learned about CO2, O2, right? How do you mention it? So, after writing Z, after writing C and O, then you write 2 underneath, right? So, similarly, those characters as well are recognized as long as they are numeric. An empty string will result in false. So, if you are having an empty string and you're trying to look if there is digit function, and then because it is empty string, there is nothing to verify on, so obviously it is going to be an false boolean value. Non-digit character. If the string contains any character that is not recognized as a digit, example letters, punctuation, spaces, or even a decimal point or a negative sign, is digit will return false. So let's say you have a number 4. Is that is numeric? Yes, it is numeric. So what if you have something like -4? You might say that is numeric, but you have to understand that there is a specification called minus. A minus is a sign, right? It's a symbol. So when you have a sign, then you will be returned with a false value. Let's see how this works in our code example. I've gotten here a string that has only digits, so 1 2 3 4 and 5. So what would the output be? It must return me true. So when I run this, I can see I've got true here. Now next string I've got 1 2 3 and ABC, numeric as well as alphabets. In this case, I'll be getting false. It's obvious, isn't it? Okay, I understand for alphabetics. And what if I have a what if I have a decimal number? What if I have a float type of number? So it should return me true, right? No. If you would have thought about true, then it would return false because I've got a dot here, which is a symbol, right? It is not a numeric value. In this case, I would be returned with false again. And then I've got a string containing a negative sign. It is still a number, right? 100 is still a number, but I've got -100. So minus is a symbol again, it's a sign. In that case, I'll be returned with false again. What if I have an empty string then? So in empty string, you have nothing to compare against. So you are trying to look if there is any digits at all. So your empty string, inside that, you don't have anything at all. So how can you even perform the comparison? So in that case, you are going to be returned with a false. Let me run this. So that is false. And what would happen if I'm running it with a Unicode digit? So I've already said you, right? For example, a superscript or a subscript, right? You have different methods here. So I've got, so 3 is my subscript here. Okay, cool. So when I try to run, what would be my output? So you might be wondering 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5. Though it is a superscript, you have to be aware that it is still a numeric number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is still a numeric number. So when I try to call in that particular string with my isdigit, I'm going to be returned with a true value. Okay, because that is the output here, right? And everything is numeric. So it is obvious you'll be getting a true value. So what are the things that we learned today? We learned about isdigit method, which is going to check if every string is of sorry every element within. Okay, we'll start from the first. So we started with the starts with method. Your starts with method will look if a particular prefix is found, and your ends with method will look for if a particular suffix is found in a string. Your count method is used to find the count of a non-overlapping repetitive occurrences of a particular substring that you're looking for. And, and your isalpha method is going to verify that if all the elements within a string are of an alphabetic type. If so, it will return a true, and if otherwise, it will return a false value. And same for your isdigit method. If everything every element within a string or of a numeric type, then you would be returned with a true value. If not, even if it is one single string, single case character, then you will be returned with a false. So these are pretty much the 5 methods that we learned today, and I hope this session was very useful to you. And if you find it useful, feel free to drop your, you know feel free to give me a thumbs up. And if you have any questions, drop your questions in the comment section. I'll try to address either in this or in the next video. And before we end, who are we? We are Data Valley. We are the fastest growing edtech company of 2025, and we have got our headquarters in Hyderabad. So in Hyderabad we have got 4 centers, so you can find the addresses here. And our primary headquarters is located in US, UK, and UAE as well. So if you are someone around these regions, feel free to check it out. And we are soon expanding to multiple cities across India like Chennai, West Bengal, Delhi, Karnataka. So we are connecting. We are coming closer to your places, and with better regional connectivity, we can make sure that we help you at all part of your career development. So feel free to check out our website at datavalley.ai. There you will find what kind of services we provide, what kind of trainings and learnings that we can offer you. We're always here to help you. All right. So that is all for today. This is Franklin signing off. Until then, I wish you all good luck with your interview. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Take care.